Hey guys, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions. I've got a new CGC submission video for you. Now, this is another order that I had sent into, well, I had submitted the order to CGC right before the prices raised back in the middle of January. I've been staggering these orders. That's why you've been seeing multiple CGC submission videos from me. All these orders I've staggered so I can make sure that the bills hit slightly different times. Not all at once, which is what I was trying to avoid. I just need to make sure I get these in to keep the old price that CGC had. As long as I get them in before February 18th in their hands, these orders will be honored at that previous price. Anything that receives after that is going to be at the higher price that they're now charging. So it saves a little bit of money, but we'll see how it goes. This order right here it is not a pre-screen, unlike the last two that I've been doing. There are some books in here that I don't mind if the grades go a little bit lower. And also I think that I did a pretty good job cleaning and pressing some of the other ones, so I'm not worried about them dropping down as much. But I didn't protect myself like I did with the previous video. The previous one I had a 9.4. If anything fell below that, then the value wasn't there. There are some in there, if they drop below that, it wouldn't be worth it, but as I said, I cleaned and pressed them and I'm pretty confident that they'll get good grades regardless. There are a bunch though that they may fall below that, and even so that value will still maintain even at a slightly lower grade. Now, I valued this order based on basically a 9092 grade, although as I said I didn't do a pre-screen on it, but that's how I valued the book when I put an insurance value on all these books once they were graded. So let's get into them. And first up is I've got two copies of Tales of the Teen Titans Annual. This is number 3. Got two of those there. This is the conclusion to the Terminator and Kara storyline, and I'm escaping what was the name of the storyline. I can't remember. But anyway, this is the final issue of that. The big issue, of course, is issue number 44, the first Nightwing and the origin of Deathstroke. But this one was a really good book. I had these on hand because I had been picking up George Perez books for his signing at CGC, and I wasn't sure what I was going to send in, and this was under consideration. I made sure I cleaned and pressed it, had it ready to go, but in the end I did not submit it for a signing, but I am going to submit it for just a regular grading and encapsulation. Alright, next up is a newsstand copy of Ultimate Spider-Man number 1. I never had this book. I didn't get into the Ultimate books, I think, on Spider-Man probably until the issues into the 20s, maybe even the 30s. After that, I was all on board. I started with X-Men. I started with Ultimates, which was actually my favorite book, and of course Fantastic Four as well. And then of course that led to other books like Fallout and I'm trying to think, what were some of the other ones? They had other ones, Ultimate Vision, Ultimate Iron Man. They did all kinds of individual things, but I had never had this. I had read it in the trade paperback I'd picked up, but I'd never had this issue. I ended up picking it up. It's a newsstand issue, and it pressed out really good. I got it off of Whatnot for a few dollars. I don't think I spent too much on it, but it's got some pretty good value, and we'll see. I think we'll end up with a 9.6, hopefully at the least on that one. Alright, here's two copies of a book, and I don't do a lot of DC books, it looks like, but this one I picked up. This is Detective Comics number 566, and this one is known for the fact that it shows off Batman's Rogue Gallery. Literally, it shows off his Rogues Gallery in there, and I always loved this issue. The cover was kind of always interesting, but it's kind of interesting to go through each page and you see his villains and they talk about them a little bit. And it's got a little bit of value, especially if you can get a high grade on this. One of these, I picked both of these up at, well, actually this one was from Whatnot, and the second one, this I picked up from a card show. And I remember talking with the dealer on this one, and he was a little skeptical. He didn't think this was of the two that he had, this was the lower price of the two, but looking at them at the show, I felt like this one I could press and get a better bump than I could of the other one. And so I went with that. I'm hoping for really top grades on both of these. Now this is a book you would have seen in one of my earlier videos from a month or so ago, a couple months ago. This is a book I picked up at Cards, Comics, and Collectibles up in Reisterstown, Maryland. It's one of my LCSs. They are really good with the back issues. They have a fantastic sale on all the back issues, and especially the premium back issues. They give them 30% off on all the older premium books. And this one was the Shrilia Duck #1. And this is known for the first appearance of Gru the Wanderer. And it's slightly a hot book right now. I didn't pay a lot for this, and I couldn't pass it up. I had never had it before, and of course you've got Jack Kirby goodness with the Destroy Your Duck there. But this one actually pressed out really good. Couple presses on that. Worked on the spine ticks on this. Really happy with that. At the very least, I'd hope for a 9.4 on that, but I'm expecting hopefully a 9.6. All right, here is a book that it was a favorite of mine growing up. It was Iron Man 127. I got two of these. One of these I picked up from that same LCS. The other one I picked up at a little comic book show up in Hunt Valley, Maryland, here back in January. And just absolutely stunning. It's almost the conclusion of the Demon in the Bottle storyline. It's the kind of the conclusion to what the storyline was at the time, where I believe it was Justin Hammer was taking over or really messing with Iron Man, and he ends up, this is sort of the final battle, and Hammer has all these supervillains, these grade C supervillains working for him, and at this point they're having this major battle, and Iron Man's taking on all of them, and it's just absolutely fantastic. The cover was always one of my favorites. I remember tracing this book over and over again back when I was a kid. Love this right here. Wanted to pick up 126, which is the homage to Tales of Suspense 39, and at the same show, that same Hunt Valley show, that I picked up one of these, and unfortunately that book, I always had it in my hand, and it ended up having writing on the back of the cover, and that was fairly disappointing. But that's the other book that I want to really get out of this run someday. Alright, now this is a book I picked up from Whatnot. I paid way too much for this. Taught me a lesson to not go too expensive on some of these books, especially the older books like this. This is Spiderman issue 301. Cover looks fantastic. I cleaned and pressed this, of course. The back is a black cover, and I was a little disappointed that the spine ticks were a little bit more than I would have liked, and I probably would never spent the money on this had I really got a chance to look at it. And I kind of got caught up in that FOMO and winning on Whatnot, and this was a mistake. But I'm going to go ahead and try to get this graded. I don't care what the grade is on this. This is a book that will end up getting sold at some point. So that's pretty much it. I kind of want to basically get in and get out of that one. Alright, here's a book that it's been in the PC for many years. This is issue number 141. It's an early appearance of Bullseye. I had picked up this and several of the other early Bullseye appearances. I didn't have the first appearance, but I had like the first 2 to 3 appearances. And bought this back in the day at Jeppy's Comics here in Baltimore when they still had stores. And I want to say I paid maybe $2, maybe $3 for this. So it wasn't a big investment, but there's some nice value on this if you can get it at a higher grade, but I'm not too sure what this is going to grade out as. It pressed out really nice, but this is more like a test than anything. But this one right here looks really nice, and who knows, maybe I'll be surprised. Alright, going back to my Cards, Comics, and Collectibles, I picked this up at Thanksgiving as well. This is Spider-Woman #1. It was it was fairly expensive, but like I said, a 30% discount on top of that brought it into that range where if I bought it, and even at a slightly lower grade, this was going to, I could end up making a little bit of money on this if I could get a decent grade, and then turn around and sell it. It pressed out really nice. There is a spine tick. I can see it right there. It's the only major flaw that I can see. Now, before these books go out, I will go ahead and review them again, and if any of them need any more work, I will go ahead and do it again. I will go back with the tack iron, and then if I have to go put them back into the press and add a little bit of moisture one more time, I'll go ahead and do that. But as of the moment, all of these are pretty much ready to go. Alright, here is a book that I talked about in a previous video, Albedo number 2. It's the second appearance of Agu Jimbo. I had a chance to pick this book up at a local secondhand bookstore, and I told the story in that video where I went down. It was sort of, my wife and I had an off day. Hey, let's go down and check out this thing. And it's a wonderful old bookstore, all kinds of old books. It's an old warehouse, and they have comic books, and the comic books aren't necessarily out, but they did have them listed on their website, and that's where I saw this at a certain price, and pictures look pretty good. It would only take a half hour to go down there and take a look. Let's run down, take a look. Well, I get down there and we look around. Instead of immediately going in and asking for the comic, I asked, we went around and looked around and see if I could find it, see if they had them displayed someplace or anything like that. And when I realized that no, they didn't have the comics out on display, like, okay, I'm going to go ask the clerk, let me take a look at the book, please. I pulled it up on the phone to try to show, so I could show him exactly what I was looking for, and it's not there. Item not available. And I'm going, what's going on? And I did ask him, and he went and checked, and sure enough, in that half hour that it took me to leave the house and get to the store, it had sold. And apparently they have a listing on eBay as well, and price was really good, and I think the condition was really good. Well, I'm a little bummed at this point. So I immediately went home, and I've talked about this thing I have. It's sort of like FOMO mixed with OCD in this situation, and I looked for a book, and I ended up finding this on eBay. Turns out it was about the same price as I would have paid at the store down there, and I went ahead and bought it. It does have a pretty big spine-breaking tick over here, but the rest of the book is fairly clean. The cover isn't quite as clean as I would like, but it still will present really well. You cannot see any of the spots, especially under acrylic or plastic. You can't see any defects on the cover, but we'll see how that grades out. I'm really excited about that. I've always been a big fan of Agu Jimbo. I've never owned one of these Albedo comics with him in it, so I was pretty excited to get this. I'll never own number I guess this is issue 3. I'll never own number 2. Just the price is outrageous. But I've got to think that the price on number 2 being so high, this has got to raise up some. This is still got to be a lot more valuable than what I paid for this. But it's maybe hard to part with it, being such a Stan Sakai fan too. All right, this right here is one of my own. It was my last personal copy I owned of Teen Titans number 44. This right here, it's a little rough on the edges and everything. I pressed it out, cleaned it up as much as I could. It is a little rough over here. I'm not expecting a high grade on this. I think this is the book that one of the books in this collection of ones I'm sending to CGC that this is why I didn't do a pre-screen, because I wanted to get this graded. No matter what the grade's going to be, it's still going to be worth it, and that's why I didn't put a pre-screen on this one. So I'll be happy to get that back. I've got a signed copy from George Perez and Mara Wolfman, I think, in the collection, and I've got a recent copy I bought of that. I sent that out to CGC for the George Perez signing. So hopefully that will get signed. I've heard that he's had some complications, and they've put the signing on hold. I'm not sure if that's official, but I figured that CGC will just hold on to the books until something changes, and I guess it's just in a holding pattern at the moment. But anyway, all right, so I've got 2 different books left, but I've still got a lot of books left. But let me do this one. This is Avengers 257. I picked this up at the Hunt Valley comic show I went to here back in early January, like one of the other ones as well. And this is the first appearance of Nebula. I always loved this book because of the John Buscema, Tom Palmer artwork. My second favorite run of issues in comics, of course, the first being the first run in Avengers with John Buscema and Tom Palmer. Love their artwork, I love their storytelling. Just a wonderful match. But I've sent this out to get graded. I think I own a 9.6 in this, but I keep pushing to try to get a 9.4. I don't think this one's going to meet. I think it has a spine tick over here that if I can get another 9.6, that'd be fine. I can go ahead and sell that and just put the funds towards waiting till I can find another issue of this that I think will be a 9.8. All right. This is the last book I've got. I've got 11 copies of this, and I was watching videos from the other day. There was a YouTuber who was talking about actually some really awful grades that he got, and one of the things that he tries to avoid is sending the same copy of any particular book to CGC. Now, he thinks that the grading they get lazy. And he was getting the same grade even though he could literally tell the difference between the 2 books, the condition. He knew one was much higher than the other. And it kept happening to him over and over again. Now, in my experience with CGC, I have not had that experience. I've sent out, I want to say that Avengers 267, the Council of Kang storyline, I know I sent out 5 copies of that before, and the grades were all ranged differently. There was no uniform between every grade. 296s, 294s, and I think I had a 9. Or actually, it was 296s, 294s, and a 92, I think. But so I didn't experience the same thing as this YouTuber, and some of the last few orders I've been sending out anywhere from 3 to 5 of the same issue, and I don't know, in the back of my head I've always feared that a little bit, but this time I'm going back to one of my favorite books that I've been specking on for the last 3 to 4 months, trying to pick up really good copies, and that is Fantastic Four 244. Now, I've got a stack here. I literally have 11 copies of this book. And again, this was a book that I think will explode the moment we start seeing Galactus, and when they introduce Nova, Frankie Ray in the MCU at all, this book right here is going to explode. This is a key first appearance of that character as Nova, and wonderful John Byrne artwork. I think I say the same thing every time. It's wonderful John Byrne artwork. It's not John Byrne artwork, it's wonderful John Byrne artwork. But I've got multiple copies of this. As I said, 11 in this issue. In one of my previous videos you just saw me, I think I had at least 4 or 5 more. And from a much older submission, I think I've got 2 more. I am going to have a lot of slabs on this in the end. And I'm very positive on this book. I'm very positive on the grades on these books. I don't think I'm going to hit a 9.8 on any of these. Every one of these has a defect of some sort, but this was the other book that I said I don't care what the grade is, as long as it doesn't drop down too much below, let's say, an 8.5. I should have a lot of value in this book at different grades, and for what I paid for all this, minus what plus the grading fees and then selling fees and what I can sell these for, I should be able to make probably a little bit of profit on all of this. And I don't know, this has been my #1 comic for the last 3 to 5 months, and I'm excited about getting these. I think are the last of all the books, all the ones for Fantastic Four 244 that I've been working on for the last 3 months. These are the last ones that are going in. So anyway, guys, that is it. 25 book submission, no pre-screen. We're gonna get ready and package this thing up, and we'll get it out, and hopefully within 6 months. I don't know. Who knows when CGC will get around to this? But honestly, they could hold on to this order for a little while and not cash my check. That'd be fine with me. These are older books. They will retain the value down the road, unlike, say, a new modern book that's hot today and cold in a month. So I think these are good books to get graded. I think these are good books. You're not going to you're not going to go home and retire on these books, but you do these kind of books at this level. Continue to do these books, order after order, and I think you can make a nice side business to working with these books, and that's been my approach all along. Continue with this, and we'll see where it goes. So guys, that is the end of the video. If you liked today's video, please hit the thumbs up. That helps the analytics. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to the channel. We continue to grow every day. And for those who have already subscribed, thank you very much for continuing to support the channel. That's it, guys. I will see you for the next video.